They never stopped to think of whether or not they should, they just only cared whether they could. That might be the outcome of mounts finally coming to Conan Exiles. My name's Jade, welcome to a overview video, a brief recap of everything that went on in the Conan Exiles dev stream today, where they highlighted and showcased mounts as well as a bunch of new mechanics like this. This is the brand new dodge and roll and a bunch more stuff. So I'm going to recap it all, show you a few bits of the clips of it and give you my opinion on mounts finally coming to Conan Exiles. It's probably been one of the most #1 requested features and it's happening in December. It's going to be a big game in December, Conan. I think this is going to bring back a lot of players. I still think definitely there's a room to improve, but Conan has just kept adding content over the last 2 years since it came out of early access, and I'm really pleased to see they take on board a lot of feedback. So let's crack on. Don't forget to like, subscribe and go and check out my charity page. I am doing a live stream celebrating 100,000 subscribers. We're going to be live streaming for 18 hours on the 30th of November. You can find the details in the description box and the comment section. Go and give me a donation. We're going to be having lots of fun, be playing Conan and hopefully having some special guests too. Anyway, let's crack on with the rest of the dev stream recap. One of the things straight off the bat is the new roll mechanic. It's going to be tied more directly to agility, and it means that anyone in any type of armor will be able to roll, but different types of armor are going to affect how quickly you roll and whether or not you'll be able to do any attacks when you get out of your roll. The devs basically go on to talk about how light armor really is the meta of PvP in Conan Exiles, and they want to readdress and balance that because people have no consequence. When you use light armor, you can get away really quickly and easily, or you can simply go into an attack mode. So the idea with this role is that you're going to have to put points in agility so that you can achieve maybe the same results, and you can make more swords and weapons that previously weren't viable much more beneficial in PvP. Another change that could be pretty big for PvP, even though it seems small, is the gate or the acceleration. Basically, when you go to run or you start to walk a little bit quicker, there is going to be a small delay as if it actually is real life. You know, you don't suddenly go into a 100-meter sprint as soon as you step foot. You have to build up a bit of momentum, and they're adding that to Conan Exiles to give players more of a chance at catching players from just running away full pelt out of an encounter. Now, one small thing like running and dodging or rolling isn't necessarily the biggest of deals, but of course it does have a knock-on effect for weapons. So particularly two-handed weapons, lots of them in fact are going to have a little bit of either a buff or a nerf, or they're going to act a bit differently while using them.
So the weapons were changed in a way that, for example, the two-handed hammers, they were just ridiculously powerful in this meta.
Yes.
So the light attack was slowed down a bit, just to make sure that they're a bit more balanced. I know that there were some changes to katana, don't remember exactly which ones, but I was killed by katana so many times. There were some changes to two-handed swords, which used to be my favorite weapon, and it's back to be my favorite weapon because it's actually pretty interesting with the light attack.
Right.
It has a lot more hyper armor, so it's easier to engage an opponent. You're not being staggered immediately.
So you get the idea. Expect big changes. This is all coming as part of the mounts update in early December with these changes alongside the mounts and obviously the last DLC. I do believe, or it could be the last DLC, I'm pretty sure it is the Riders of Hyboria. Next up is changes to Trebuchet. We are going to get to the mounts, but I'm just covering it in the order that it happens in the stream.
First of all, we increase the range at which you can fire the trebuchets.
Right.
So trying to, block the base by foundation spamming around is not going to work as effectively.
Right.
You can try to do more foundation spamming, but then, yeah, you just can't prevent that. Another thing that you probably can see on your screen right now is the extra GUI.
I have to say, that's pretty decent range. Holy hell!
Obviously, they're pretty excited, so am I. One of the big features of Conan Exiles they never really fleshed out enough was siege features like the Trebuchet. I was expecting elephant war, sort of big tents, the kind of thing to come up against castles and all sorts of other sort of stuff like that. I thought that was going to be added to the game long ago. Well, what they've done as well as increased the range, the angle. You'll be able to set the angles much more acutely, so you'll be able to really pinpoint certain areas, and it's just going to make the Trebuchet actually more useful. The boulders will now also go through God Bubbles, and shock horror, there's a lot more things that are going to be able to go through the God Bubbles from now on.
Arrows, I also believe orbs will be able to do so.
Yep.
So the game will not devolve to you just coming online once a week, refreshing the God Bubble, and going away.
Now obviously you guys know I don't cover and play Conan Exiles every day. I haven't done for a good few months now, but I keep my ear to the ground. I don't remember them ever actually announcing that God Bubbles were fixed. There was a big problem with them on official servers for the second time, alongside avatars also having issues earlier on this year. So bubbles, I guess, are now working. I'm saying it like in bubbles. So it's not going to be just a case of setting your bubble once a week now. People will be able to break through your defenses, and the Trebuchet is going to be really key as part of that combat, as part of that raiding on other players from now on. Now the section I think everyone really wanted to get to quickly was pets, i.e. mounts, horses being in the game. They're going to act exactly like other pets have done in the past. You need to go and find baby horses or fowls, put them into your inventory, take them back to your camp, or place them inside your stable. And the stable is pretty much exactly the same as a pet pen. It's just going to be the equivalent for the horses. You're going to need to feed them fibre, plant fibre, and that's how you tame or grow your own proper horse. The devs go on to talk about why they decided to have a stable instead of just putting them in your pen, and that they didn't want everyone having to use huge pens, because not every player does, just to have your own horse. So you'll be able to get this at level 20, and it just means you'll be able to get your own horse. Horses are going to start or spawn in the starting areas or just above the river. There'll also be some in the highlands and some other places the devs weren't totally ready to reveal just yet. If you did miss my last recap of everything going on with Conan Exiles and pets, they're revamping the system for Frawls too. So Frawls and pets are going to have attributes or perks. They'll be randomly attributed, or some certain types of thralls will have better perks from different tribes. And horses are a bit more random. It doesn't matter what type of baby fowl you put inside a stable, it's going to come out with random stats. So you might get one that's got better stamina, or it can take being in harsh environments a little bit easier. And this is the big stuff that, alongside the rest of the content with the thralls and the pets, I really feel like horses and mounts are going to make Conan just excel that little bit higher, and it may finally start really being the #1 survival game. I don't say that lightly, because I'm a big Ark, coverage guy. And numbers don't lie either. Ark Survival Evolved has sold at least 3 times, maybe even 4 times as many copies of their game as Conan Exiles have. But Conan Exiles has steadily improved. They've steadily added more and more content alongside the paid DLC that seems to be just much more value for keeping players interested in playing in the game.
And let's check out his stats.
That's a pretty good horse.
It's a pretty good horse, like +6 vitality, +3 agility. It's got some pretty decent strength, some decent agility, decent vitality, decent survival as well. And it's also, much like all the other, much like pets and thralls, it also gains certain perks as it levels up. This is a pretty good one, actually, Universal Warrior, which gives me +3 in everything.
And this is exactly the same sort of situation you've got with Ark Survival Evolved. People put thousands of hours in that game looking for the perfect dinosaur that's got the perfect stats, and then they're breeding with them dinosaurs to get it. It becomes a meta. It had something more to the game, and Conan Exiles has been lacking that. It's why the official servers really go quiet in between updates. There's just not enough busy work for people to do, and it's my biggest criticism I've had when I've done videos in the past, like Ark versus Conan, is that Conan just doesn't have enough busy work. Once you've completed 1 or 2 dungeons over and over again, it doesn't have enough to keep you drawing you back in. So having systems where you can get really good stats from creatures and maybe start breeding or trying different ways to get the best stats adds more end game to the content, or content to the end game. For the skinny with the horses or mounts, these are the only types of mounts you're going to be able to ride for a while. The devs were non-committal about other creatures. It might be something they look at in the future, but they don't want to say anything right now. It's purely focused on just horses. So your vision of riding a camel into battle, or maybe a rhino like Black Panther, then maybe that's not going to be the situation just yet. An important thing to note is that you need to have a saddle, and the saddle's level 20, hence why you can't really go riding a horse until you get to level 20. You can craft these saddles. There's various different versions: heavy armored saddle, light saddle, plus Aquilonia and Savage saddles, maybe related to previous DLC. The saddles that you make aren't simply just cosmetic either, they're actually going to have more uses. I mean, I know that sounds simple, having been light or medium or advanced saddles, but they demonstrate here that they look different and they're actually going to have more abilities, or they're going to have certain features. So that's why it's worth upgrading to the next saddle for each one of them.
So basically, this is a visual representation of like how far along you are in your
Pretty much.
In your mount's progression. That's the word I'm looking for. So you start off, very simple. It's a saddle. It gets a bit beefier, and then at the end, like it looks like horse armor.
Yeah.
Or armor for a horse.
Now, I'm not sure whether they actually mention it properly in the stream. I don't know if I've just missed it, but this is the Aquilonian saddle, and then we see the Savage saddle, and they're, I think, tied to DLC. I could be wrong on that. They may be part of the base game, but they might be tied to old DLC or the new Riders of Arborea.
It's a bit more like an intimidation saddle, essentially.
And good that you mentioned about intimidation, because I think this is the best saddle for PvP.
Okay. It gives decent stats, all that kind of stuff to your horse.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because since there are 3 different types of saddles, there is no dedicated purpose for every single saddle.
Right.
But as a designer, I've always been thinking about the Warhorse saddle, the one that we have on the left,
right,
is the one for PvE.
Right.
The reason for that is because it makes the horse really slow, but at the same time you can take a lot more punishment. So it's a lot more forgiving for players in general. And also because it doesn't have enough maneuverability, it's really difficult to catch players when they're trying to roll away. So that's why you need something really fast, really maneuverable, and if you can handle it without if you can try to avoid damage as much as possible, if you're really good in PvP, this is the saddle that you want, because it allows you to give enough maneuverability, it provides you enough speed to catch up to any opponent.
Yep.
And it's just decently, really good looking.
Yeah. So and it's like they look good and they provide a function. They do certain modifications to your horse in terms of running speed, in terms of maneuverability, in terms of armor, of course.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
So yeah, that's pretty simple to understand. Light, medium and heavy armors for the horse are going to control how much it moves, how much it can carry and how much damage it takes. But they still really didn't answer what was going on with the other DLC, like the Aquilonian armor or the Bone one, the Savage one here as well. So I don't know, interesting. I'll have to find out more details about that. Let me know in the comment section if they clarified that, if you'd seen the stream or you've seen anything else. But let's start taking a look at the horse actually in action. Is it going to be faster than humans?
Their maximum speed is about 50% higher. So the top sprinting speed of a player is 855, and horses are about 1300.
Right. That's a pretty decent jump, and that's only from just this regular like trotting animation.
No, that's from galloping.
Oh, that's from galloping, right? Because horses have, much like your human characters have, they have 2 speeds, which is the regular. Is it a trot or a canter? I'm not sure about my horse terminology. And then you have your gallop, which is your holding down your shift button and then just running essentially.
So this was the one that I think a lot of players have been worried about, and I'm definitely sure Firespark 86 has also been worried about, is whether or not performance is going to be okay, whether or not horses are going to be OP. It's one of the big criticisms because the devs have often said in the past they couldn't add mounts to the game because simply the world chunks weren't loading in quick enough. The mounts were going too quick for the world to load in, and you guys will know that if you've ever played a game like CONAN EXILES or ARK, popping it can be pretty bad, especially on consoles. So making sure that balance is right, that things aren't just going to appear out of nowhere, and that graphically and performance-wise the game is running okay is important. I think they've managed to crack it. They've made the speed of the horses about 50% nearly bigger than humans, about 1300 or so, and humans only move about 855, that's what they said. The horse has got 2 speed modes. You've got just sort of canter, and then you've got full speed gallop. Now, every horse has the same amount of endurance. That's what that blue bar is. It's not stamina, it's endurance. There's a little crucial difference. Endurance is going to work that basically it's the same for all your horses, but when you're sprinting, that's when the different saddles will come into play. And so the different saddles will mean that you'll have a little bit more endurance depletion, or it'll be a little bit slower or quicker depending on what type of saddle it is.
When you take damage, you as a player or the horse, it will deduct your endurance. And if you reach 0 endurance and you've been hit, you get dismounted from the horse.
Oh, so if I'm sprinting and the horse runs out of stamina,
and something hits you,
it will buck me essentially.
No, it will continue going. It will just revert back to the running speed. But if the arrow flies into your head, you get dismounted.
Oh wow, that's cool. So I can shoot a person off a horse
Yes.
if I'm very lucky.
If you're very lucky, if you can do it, then go ahead.
All right, that's
So there you go. You can shoot riders off their horses if you're really good with your aim. And I like that feature. And I like they're trying to make it a bit different. So I'm really hopeful this is going to work well on console. That's what I care about most, being a console player at most. That's what I prefer playing on. So performance is always going to be a bit of an issue on the game. But Conan has managed that a lot better than games like Art Survival Evolved. Horses can jump. They can also swim. And they can also rear on 2 legs. So horses can also be renamed, you can name it what you want, and they are going to follow you just like any other pet. Now where pets share in XP whenever you kill something, horses also gain more XP when you ride them. So horses are going to become a new meta that actually gaining XP could be definitely a lot better by riding them. You can gain a maximum, I do believe, of 20 levels on a horse too. So it's going to pay to ride them, to get better stats on them, to actually utilise them, rather than have them just follow you around like some of your other pets. So, as well as obviously speeding around, there is going to be an actual walk or just a regular walking action more for like roleplay purposes. A few things as well to do with encumbrance. If you're over encumbered and you jump on your horse, you're not suddenly going to be able to just dart off. You're going to have to actually put some items in your inventory into the horse's inventory, and then you'll be able to speed, run, or do a big gallop or canter. And that kind of makes sense. So don't load yourself up with loads of stone. You need to put it on the horse, and then you'll be able to actually move ahead and go wherever you want to go without being over encumbered. The devs also showed off just there a minute ago that you can actually kind of drift. There will be a little bit of skidding motion if you turn in quite sharply or at speed with the horse. And that's pretty cool too. So what about combat? That's probably going to be one of the biggest or most important things with the mounted horses come to the game. Yes, you are going to be able to combat on horses. One-handed weapons are going to work best. There are some two-handed weapons like the pike that you can use, but you won't be able to use hammers or daggers because you need to be able to grip onto the horse with something.
So prep your attack and then release it to hit.
Oh,
strike.
like this.
Yeah.
Boom. Nice.
And then you can also point in a specific location where you want to hit.
Oh, so I can sort of point up and down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because like this is more of a, sorry about the horse butt. This is like an overhand, like an overhead, and this is more downwards.
Yeah. And then there is a heavy attack. Heavy attack is essentially when you get really close, you'll be able to hit your opponent with much stronger attack, and that's going to attack much faster.
Yeah.
So if you get stopped for some reason, you really want to focus on a specific target, this is the attack to use.
So combat's not going to be as easy as maybe some people thought. You're going to have to learn and master heavy and light combos and timing your attacks to release it at the right time that you come across a player or another player on a horse. Or it's going to be difficult. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, if it's going to be something a lot of people use.
And if you're paying attention, you can also see that I'm my sword is flashing purple, which I think is sundering.
No, that's shield break.
Shield break. Thank you.
That means you can attack shields and you will not be interrupted.
Cool.
These weapons will preserve their identity in a way that swords will apply cripple, axes will apply bleed, and maces will apply sunder, but only with light attack.
Right.
So I really like using swords on the horses because when you try to hit and run somebody, you'll hit them with the light attack, they will apply cripple, and it will make your opponents really difficult to run away because they'll be crippled.
Yeah, and then you can just do a horse drift, well, more professionally than I just did, and then go back and then hit him again.
Yep.
And then hit him again, and then hit him again, and then hit him again.
And again, and again, and again. So making sure you're using light attacks to cripple someone with a sword and then finishing them off with the heavy. It sounds pretty cool. Showing off all different types of weapons, what it's like with the pike. You can get a pretty far range behind you. If you actually aim behind you, you'll hit a fair distance. And the heavy attack is going to do a lower down damage as well. So all the weapons are going to be useful, like the axe. Just about learning what's best for you and what kind of combination you can come up with.
Lances. They are brand new.
They're brand new, this is a new type of weapon. You cannot use lances while you're not on the horse.
So Conan Exiles may have not done it first. Ark brought in lances long ago on their equuses, but it is certainly interesting. You're not going to use these off of your horse, and when you're on it, you're going to have to really point and aim and just build up momentum with it. And the more momentum that you're doing, you're going to do more damage. If you're going up against a stationary target, you'll do an X amount of damage, but if a target is running towards you, you'll actually do ×2 the amount amount of damage because there's more force, obviously, so there's definitely going to be more impact. And you can see it's pretty cool with the aim, it actually glows orange. I really like this idea. I think this is going to be a good implementation, but maybe a little bit hard to master at the very beginning. Side note is you won't be able to use shields on horses yet, but it's something they may look at in the future. But you can use torches, so although you can't use daggers on a horse, you can hold a torch and use one of your weapons. So if you're still a little bit worried about horses being maybe a bit OP, don't worry too much. Horses are going to have a lot of health, but that doesn't necessarily transfer to you, and the armor doesn't transfer to you. Horse armor won't affect you, so your horse will be fine while you're getting stabbed up, but you will not. So if players are really careful with their aim, they'll actually do you a lot more damage if you're just standing still. And as the devs point out, cavalry is all about hit and run, so making sure you're actively using your horse rather than sitting there and just cheesing and wailing on something is going to be important. You've actually got to run around and move like you properly would on a horse and attack and utilize it the most.
Which means if you can come really close and you can attack both the rider and the horse at the same time, it's going to deal the max amount of damage and you will dismount the rider really quickly. Which makes bows really effective. So when you're trying to shoot somebody who's on a horseback, always aim for the rider for the max amount of damage.
There you go, don't despair. OP horses are not going to be necessarily the thing. As long as you've got good aim or you get close enough that you can attack a rider and the horse together, you'll be doing equal amounts of damage, but obviously the horse will have more because it's got more health generally and it's got the armor protecting it. So interesting stuff. It's going to be good. I can't wait to try getting a bunch of rat bags going against each other on horseback, having proper battles on horses. It's going to be interesting. One slight negative is that for the time being, you're only going to be able to actually properly fire while moving from the left hand side of your horse. They spoke about the animation costs and performance and how other games like Mount and Blade and Horizon Zero Dawn allow you sometimes to spin, or Horizon Zero Dawn does, but it means there's a lot of animations going on there and so performance suffers greatly. So they're just starting out with left hand attacks only while moving, but while you're stationary you should be able to aim anyway which way you want. One of the last things they spoke about in the live stream was that bows, arrows are now actually going to go where you want them to go. There is no longer going to be an offset or a flight path where it degrades a little bit. You don't have to try and work out, you know, the area that a player's going to be moving into as much. Your crosshair is exactly where that bow is going to go, the arrow's going to go, I should say. So that's a good improvement that's coming soon too. And that was pretty much it for this dev stream. Really good stuff. It's coming early December, no final release date yet. Alongside the DLC of Riders of Borea, the changes to the Trebuchet, the changes to dodge mechanics, and of course the pets, Frawl system, as well as the Frawl cap. If you've not played Conan Exiles in a while, they're introducing a Frawl and pet cap now, so you can't have hundreds and hundreds. Go and watch the previous recap video I did if you missed out on that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do please check out the charity page I've got running in the comment section down below. Until next time, rat bags. Oh yeah, PS, I will be having a Conan Exiles server on PS4 as well.